guys, still think I'm crazy. Raptors fresh off of a 126-114 loss to the Boston Celtics. Um, I can't say that I told you so, or sorry, I can say that I told you so. Uh, Breaking news, Jason Tatum's a superstar. He dropped 40 on the Raptors. Can't say that you didn't see that coming either. Peyton Pritchard, guy that casual fans haven't heard of, first round late pick by the Boston Celtics, stepping in because Teague and a lot of other guys, including Marcus Smart, couldn't play for them today, dropped 23. This is the NBA, and that's going to happen. You're going to get guys that are going to step in, and you might not have heard of them, but they're going to come in and have big games. Jaylen Brown kind of had a bad night, 19 points. Raptors' best guys did not really come to play. Pascal Siakam, if you look at the stat sheet, 22.6 rebounds. If you watch the game, you know that most of those points came in garbage time. The Raptors were down like 20 points. Wasn't really a factor in the game. Ended up shooting 50% for just under for the first time in a long time. OG Anunoby. I feel like I'm hating. I'm not. I'm just kind of trying to tell the truth here. 10 points, 0 rebounds. 0 rebounds from your starting small forward who weighs like 240. 0 rebounds. Kyle had an off night today. 15, 5, and 8, which, looking at the stats, not that bad. I shot 38% from the field. Fred, lone bright spot for the Raptors, really came to play today. 35 points and 8 assists. Aaron Baines, a guy that I've been, really singing his praises this season for a lot of doing a lot of hard work under the basket. 0 points and missed a lot, and I mean a lot of like chippies, just like right at the rim. Your grandmother can make those kind of shots, as Igor likes to say, but he wasn't able to make them. Chris Boucher in 20 minutes had 9 points. He was pretty decent. Terrence Davis, a lot of you guys have been asking for minutes for him, and also Malachi Flynn. Both those guys came in the game. Terrence Davis had a massive dunk and came in late in the fourth when the Raptors were really down and put together that run. 13 points, pretty decent. Flynn came in, like I said, 0 points. I think it was 0 for 6. Missed a lot of threes towards the end of the game. Trying to kind of have to force them, see some lightning in a bottle, hope that the Raptors come back. That wasn't working. I want to touch on both Siakam and I guess OG, pretty much this whole entire team. I'm just going to pull up the stats right now for the free throws. Raptors got to the line 38 times, for the first time more than their opponent, I believe, all season. Very high. There was a stat at the beginning of the week that Trae Young had averaged more free throw attempts than the entire Toronto Raptors team through, 5 games or 4 games, whatever that was. Now, a lot of people are saying this is, the refs are doing something. In order to get to the free throw line, you need to get to the rim. And the Raptors have not been doing that. Whether it be not having a tight enough handle to get to the rim, not being aggressive enough to slide through those 2 defenders when the lanes close on you. They're not putting pressure on the defense. Pretty sure that they're shooting the most threes in the league. Today, once again, they shot 37 of them, only hit 13, compared to Boston, who took 29, almost 10 less than them, and managed to still beat them by 12 points when the game was really out of hand in the third quarter. If you tuned in early, Raptors were up 32-23. Talked with some friends, everybody's like, oh, Raptors got this, they look really great. And I had spoken with Zane, and I was saying, Boston played last night. I said, Raptors fans have to hope that they kind of run out of gas in the fourth quarter. They didn't. They didn't need to. In the second quarter, they outscored the Raptors 38-14. 38-14. And really, there was no looking back from there. Outscored them again by 4. Raptors gave up 39 points in the third quarter, and for a team that usually hangs their head on defense, and had done a somewhat decent job, I guess, after one, obviously hold them to 23, and then, somewhat halfway through the second quarter, there was just nothing there defensively that the Raptors were doing right. And not only we're not doing anything right defensively, on the offensive end, once again, really getting nothing going. They came back and scored 68 points in the second half. To be honest, really just because Boston didn't care. They didn't need the pressure. The game was really out of hand at that point the entire time. And they weren't putting the pressure on the Raptors when the Raptors had the ball. And you could really tell that if you're watching the game. There was just a lack of shot creation, as we've seen throughout this whole Raptors season. The 114 looks nice to say, you look at paper, like, oh, the Raptors at least had some offense going. This was really just a late push, and I'd say like the last third of the fourth quarter, when Tatum and Brown both went to the bench. And The Raptors went on like an 11-0 run, and it got so bad that Brad Stevens had to call in his starters after being up like 25 points in the quarter to come in and finish the game. Raptors started pressing, and the Boston was just really playing keep away. It looked like I was watching a high school when I played high school basketball and like college basketball. There's a lot of press, a lot of sloppy basketball, guys kind of taking forced shots. And for the Raptors here, end up being 1-4, and a lot of team. I guess like the players kind of hope that this was a game they could get back, a team that they lost to in the playoffs last year. And let's not forget, they were an OG Anunoby miracle 3-pointer away in the fourth quarter, which was really the fourth option on the court, to really save their season and bring that to 7 games. And really, they didn't have much business being in it through the first 3. So Boston's really had their number. Not the same team; they've lost some guys over the years, and obviously Kemba Walker's out as well. But I was saying earlier, like where are the Raptors going to pick up wins? Like I was looking at the schedule. Next game, you're going on a West Coast trip, which has never been easy, especially during these times with so many games. Back to back 2 games or 3 games in 4 nights. So you got Phoenix next, Sacramento, who's been a really solid team this year, Portland, who we know has been a perennial playoff team. Then you have 2 games at Charlotte at home. Sorry, so. To be honest, I think the Raptors will split those. I can't even see if they want to make the playoffs, they definitely have to win both of them. Then you have Dallas, 2 games at home to Miami, at Indiana for 2, Milwaukee, Sacramento, 2 games Orlando, Brooklyn, Atlanta. Like there's no easy games. The Knicks beat Atlanta today. This is not what the Eastern Conference was before, with just a lot of trash teams and very top heavy. All these teams in the conference can play, and then you go in the West. And even the teams that aren't very good, just because they've had high picks, they have players that have just, a lot of them are becoming, I don't want to say all-stars, but you look at a team like Sacramento, who's been terrible forever. You got De'Aaron Fox, who looks like a really good player right now. And this is a team that's been in the basement forever. Orlando, another minus the last 2 years, been a terrible team. They've done some decent drafting, kept some guys around. Philly's coming up after that. Miami, Houston, Chicago. It's going to be a rough go for the Raptors. And I was saying earlier, me and Igor had talked about the Raptors, picked them being 6th. I think both of us had them being 6th in the playoffs. This is just due to history. Raptors have been one of the best teams in basketball. They might even have the most wins since like 2011 in basketball because they've just been so consistent. But losing Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and to be honest, between Webster and Ujiri, like neither of them have really, whoever is calling the shots, and neither of the guys really brought in. I think they underestimated their value because they didn't bring in enough guys. They have Baines. You brought back Boucher, great, but Baines is plays in a limited role, and his best role is probably your first big off the bench. Boucher, we know that he's kind of a matchup piece. We saw against Philly, Dwight Howard and Joel Embiid. He just can't guard them. He just doesn't have the size, as plain as that. He can't play every game. And Baines, the same thing, he's going to have some matchup issues as well. But that's, 2 guys that can protect the rim when they are in the game. But maybe, as I've said before, maybe the Raptors take the season off. They won't actually take the season off, but you look, when the year's done, you come back, you listen to this podcast, and you kind of hear, okay, so the Raptors are not playing in Toronto, they're playing in Tampa. And fans don't get a chance to see them. It's a COVID year, shortened season. Maybe the Raptors can, get a top 5 pick for the first time in a long time in a very deep draft. One of the best drafts, especially top heavy, that we've seen in quite some time. And who knows? Maybe the Raptors win the lottery and we get lucky and there's a guy like Jason Tatum. Imagine that. Imagine the Raptors had a guy like Tatum who went 3rd overall. Things next year look very, very good for the Raptors if that is the case. We saw even with Golden State. Granted, they lost Klay Thompson to an Achilles injury, but if they come back with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and James Wiseman, who's looked incredible after an injury season that they had last year to get that pick, things really turn around. So with that being said, I'm just going to wrap up the podcast. Just want to do another quick game review after, I guess, a tough loss. Like every loss is tough at this point. But things like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how the next few games. I'm interested to see really, as Raptors fans, what you guys think when you're ready to kind of, give in on the season and say, okay, you know what, I've seen enough evidence here that, I can't say, let's wait, it's too early, not enough sample size, because the Raptors are really running out of time here. I know it's 5 games in, but it's a 72-game season, and there's just not enough positive to take from these games. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, January 4th, Raptors sitting at 1-4, 14th in the Eastern Conference, which I believe is probably last in the conference, and it's going to be a tough write-up. So we'll see you guys next week. Me and Igor are going to do a show. We'll talk about the Raptors' West Coast trip. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you then. Take care.